impeachment trial of Ken Paxton, the now suspended Texas Attorney General, who could be stripped of his job over allegations of corruption and abuse of office, kicked off in the state Senate today. And if you actually look at some critical votes so far, it's actually starting to look like Paxton might actually be removed from office in the end by his fellow Republicans. The GOP-controlled Senate, which is made up of 19 Republicans and 12 Democrats, will hear evidence on 16 articles of impeachment, including disregard of official duty, constitutional bribery, false statements in official records. Paxton, an ally of former President Trump's, pleaded not guilty to all charges. Senators took key preliminary votes, including one where lawmakers overwhelmingly refused to dismiss all articles of impeachment against him. Senators have also rejected a pretrial motion in a 22-8 vote to exclude all evidence before January of this year, when Paxton began his third term as Attorney General. This is all important because these were easy ways to get rid of the case. But Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who's presiding over the trial, did make a pretty significant ruling, declaring that since the impeachment trial is like a criminal trial, Paxton does not have to take the stand.
The motion is granted. The Attorney General cannot be compelled to testify. This is consistent with the reasoning and judgment in the United States Supreme Court, Boyd versus the United States. The court's ruling is clear. You may not call the Attorney General as a witness.
The Republican-led House of Representatives, which is made up of 85 Republicans and 64 Democrats, by a vote of 121 to 23 voted to impeach Paxton in May, accusing him of breaking numerous state laws to help a key donor, something that was mentioned in opening statements for the prosecution.
The allegations in the articles reveal that the state's top lawyer engaged in conduct designed to advance the economic interests and legal positions of a friend and donor to the detriment of innocent Texans. Mr. Paxton turned the keys of the Office of Attorney General over to Nate Paul so that Mr. Paul could use the awesome power of the People's Law Firm to punish and harass perceived enemies.
That's the key name there, Nate Paul. It's something Paxton's attorney also brought up in his opening statement.
Because when we are done, I believe that no matter your party affiliation and no matter where you stand now, you will conclude what I have concluded, that there is nothing to this. Ken Paxton gave nothing of significance to Nate Paul. Nate Paul received nothing of significance from Ken Paxton. This whole case is a whole lot of nothing.
The relationship between Paxton and Paul, as well as a separate alleged affair, are at the center of the impeachment trial. The Attorney General's current wife, State Senator Angela Paxton, is also part of the Texas State Senate, but she's not going to vote or deliberate. Now, in order for Paxton to be convicted, 2/3 majority of, or 21 senators have to vote against him. So let's just say if all 20 Democrats vote that way, they'll need at least 9 Republicans to do the same. And based on some of the pretrial votes that we've seen today, it looks like a lot of them don't actually think that this impeachment is sort of a joke or a politically motivated sham, as Paxton has said in the past. Joining me now is Jason Villalba, former Republican member of the Texas House of Representatives. He's also an attorney. Jason, thanks very much for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right, so how much reading of the tea leaves can we do here? You know this body very well. Based on these pre-trial, effectively, votes, does this tell us a lot about where the impeachment proceeding is going?
I think it does. There are 2 indicators we should look at. Number one, what was the vote in the House of Representatives? As you pointed out in your opening comments, it was overwhelmingly in favor of a conviction, or in that case, a vote for impeachment. So Republicans from very conservative areas all around Texas voted against their political will or political liability, or for their political liability, to vote in favor of making sure that this person was impeached. Also, the second point is, if you look at the votes today, in the procedural motions that were made by Attorney General Paxton, Of those votes, the vote was consistently 22-8. That means there are a significant number of Republicans who are voting, in this instance, to convict. I think the writing is on the wall. I know the conventional wisdom is suggesting that, Paxton will ultimately be acquitted by politics and people that are voting for the political issue. But I think these issues are so resonant with Texans and the elected officials that are making these choices that he is going to face impeachment in the House, which has already occurred, and now a conviction, which will result in his expulsion from the body.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.